Good afternoon, everyone. I call to order the meeting of the Golf Committee for Recreation Centers, Sun City West. We have all members here except one. Steve Setzel isn't here. We haven't got him online, so he's not present. But other than that, we do have a quorum, so we're all set. On the minutes from our October 15th meeting, does anybody have any additions, suggestions, deletions from them? No, not hearing any, therefore we will accept those minutes as published. Is he trying to come on, Katie? Oh, if he's not going to be on it, I guess you don't have to leave that on. Okay, thank you. Okay, we'll go ahead and get right into our staff reports. Golf operations, Pat O'Hara.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. All right, I have a few slides of some past events and some upcoming items. Just wanted to remind everybody we still have our COVID-19 rules in effect. We're back to our 7 and 8 minute tee times. We're asking everybody to social distance, masks on in the pro shop, in the bathrooms, restrooms, at the clubhouse. We're seeing quite a bit of compliance, but we're just asking everybody to encourage others when they see it to comply. Our big goal here is to keep our employees safe as well as the other golfers and you, of course. But it's a challenge for our staff, also a challenge for the golfers. But we'll get through this, and we're playing golf, so that's the good thing. Let me go back there too. I wanted to reiterate the congregating. We are allowing, as long as there's social distancing and being safe, we do allow groups of 10 or less to congregate. The challenge there, 10 carts look like a bunch because it wasn't that many months ago that 10 carts represented 20 people, right? So we're just asking that everybody self-police, the PAs, when they see it, we're asking them to educate everybody on this rule, and that once it gets over 10 that we break up, and I'm asking everybody's cooperation with that. And again, if you can share that with all the players that you play with, that would be of great benefit to us. Tuesday we had a tour of the golf lab. Most of you were there. I thought it was very informative. Dave Aaron did a wonderful job. A lot of things that are going on in the golf lab, anywhere from retail sales to club fitting. Anybody have any comments on that from their perspective? I thought Dave did a great job.
Yeah, I have to say, Pat, that was great. It really showed something that makes this a true golf community, that it really offers the residents something special.
I appreciate that. Dave's a very knowledgeable club fitter. You can see that he's got a passion and he enjoys that. And I know, Jeff, you said that you took advantage of it. What did you have done?
Yeah, I went in there yesterday and to check the lie of my irons, and also to check my putter. Discovered that the lie was correct and nothing had to be done there. That was reassuring, but I found the grip on my putter from the manufacturer was created a slight close of the club face when I would set up, based on the flat spot on the grip. So I got a new grip and we corrected that, and so that when I grip the club, he's got a device there that checks how square it is, and so I used it this morning in league play, and the ball is actually rolling instead of skipping, and I was not missing putts just to the left of the hole. So it's a great experience. Spent time, and you know, you didn't feel like, you know, they're looking over their shoulder at someone else, and you know, it was a great experience. It's a great facility, you know, and so. Like I, you know, sent you, Pat, an email that they also need to let the people know too, that if you buy clubs and stuff from there, you're gonna save money on sales tax. You know, from
Yes.
going to any place that's in Glendale or Peoria,
Yeah, absolutely.
or Surprise even.
And Dave mentioned that any winnings you have on Wednesday, he's splitting with you, right? Going forward?
Yeah.
All right, here's our tournament schedule. I wanted to share that with you. We do have one coming up on December 12th. It's sold out. It's a two-person team best ball scramble. It's sold out pretty quick, and we're actually looking at trying to expand the field. We have 100 signed up, paid to play. We're looking to add maybe up to 20 more players because of the size of our waiting list. Things that we're considering on that is obviously we don't want to get trapped in a frost delay or on a wet day, so we'll keep everybody informed on that. But good turnout, should be a lot of fun, and then the next one will be in January. Here's the results from our 25th annual octogenarian tournament. Low score, believe it or not, of gross was 63. So that was pretty impressive from my standpoint. We had a great turnout of 100 players. And I think I mentioned last time that 8 of them were over 90 years of age. So I think golf does add years to your life if you play. I stole one of Todd's drone pictures. I thought this was a really good one of 18 at Pebble Brook. All 7 courses are going to be open on November 17th. And then we're fully staffed in our temporary part-time positions. We've got 7 call centers hired. 5 of them were from last year. 27 PAs. We had 18 come back from prior year, so we ended up hiring 9 new PAs, and we're fully staffed. We're this would be a good little commercial for employment. We're looking for a few starters, a couple ball pickers, and some custodians. So if you have friends or neighbors that are interested in a part-time job, we'd love to sit down and chat with them about that. That custodian position's not one of the high glamorous ones, but if somebody's interested in playing golf and working a few hours, it works really well. Then a couple, or at least one upcoming event. We're going to have an open house at Grandview. Instead of having it in just one day and having a compacted, crowded clubhouse, we're going to spread it out through the week. You'll see more literature on this. We'll have specials in men's and ladies' apparel, shoes, and golf equipment. So if you are looking for a Christmas gift, please take advantage of that. We will be closed on Thanksgiving. Grandview is closed this year. We rotate that every year, and it just happened to fall that they would be closed this year, but that open house is the 23rd through the 28th. And that's all I have.
Okay,
Any questions for me?
thank you, Pat. Anybody on the committee have any questions for Pat?
I have one.
Go ahead, Dave.
Pat, on the e-news that we get every week in the golf section,
Yes.
you have about 6 or 7 places where you link to other pages or more information. And on the very first one, I found that it links to the rules regarding our COVID distancing and gathering and things like that, but it's the one dated in June. And then farther into the section there's another link, and it takes you to the one in September. So it's a little confusing if you don't go on down and look at that second link.
Okay. We'll
So I was trying to find information about gatherings, and the first one mentioned gatherings, but that's June. So September didn't really say much about it, and that was a little confusing.
okay. We'll get that cleared up.
Any other committee members? Any other questions?
Yeah, Pat, I have a question.
Yeah.
With all the courses getting ready to open, I haven't heard anything about the future of group play.
Right. So we've got a few things we want to talk about if we can a little bit later today, or we can bring it up now. One of the things that we're looking at is trying to use the technology that we have in place with our lottery system, but we don't know. I shouldn't say it that way. We want to test it, and we want to see if it works for not only our day-to-day player, but also for group play. And if it does work, what size of that group does it work the best for? So we're hoping to talk about this and use the next 2 weeks of November and the last 4 weeks of December to kind of load test it, to see how it handles everything, and to see if this is an equitable, fair way to distribute tee times, and get some feedback and kind of test the waters on this, and then make a decision first of the year on how we're going to handle group play going forward.
Any other questions on that subject? Because I know that's a hot subject. No, it wasn't specifically put on the agenda. Pat brought it up now. I was originally going to just put it on the outstanding issues, bring it up then. So I'll bring it up then. Okay. Any other questions? Any other questions from any board members here? No. Okay, that's it. Pat, thank you very much. Okay, the next one up is the Pete Finelli.
Thank you, everybody. The financials for the year to date through September are in pretty good shape. A real quick summary on the revenue side. As expected, down at the bottom, you're seeing the rounds are running well above the
Sorry, I can't hear you.
Is that better?
Yeah, get a little closer to it.
Is that better?
Yeah, perfect.
So the golf revenues are projecting, or are actually much higher than budgeted, mostly due to the rounds played. We are showing a little weakness in the actual fees per round. Pat could probably allude a little more to that, but I believe we're getting less outside play and more membership with probably some of the COVID. In the ancillary, which just people may not know or remember every time what that is the range balls, the cart rentals, and our cell towers. And in this era, with the cart restrictions, that's where that's coming from. The more riders, single riders, and the ranges have been well attended during this COVID period. A couple downticks are to be expected within merchandising and food and beverage. With some of the restrictions on the pro shops and everything, that would be somewhat expected. So overall revenues, 113 ahead year to date. Down the expense side, I think Todd's shortage or open positions has been well documented. That's showing up in our savings year to date. Utilities and repair are very variable. So, but the one item that looks to be a negative at this time, and it is on landscape maintenance, which is essentially a lot of the seed, chemicals, fertilizers. This was an accounting issue. All the seed was received in, 350,000, maybe 400,000 of seed was received in September. But the way the budget was set up was it was expected that would be distributed over when the golf closures were happening. But by accounting principles, you have to actually expense it in the month you receive it in. And so October has a budget for landscape maintenance that will have very little expense against it. And year to date, by October, we should come back into balance. Nothing else really is all that material in the other categories, so overall expenses, even with the landscape maintenance excess, 44,000 under budget. And so year-to-date, between the revenue excess and the expense reductions, are 157 ahead of our budget at this time. Any
Okay.
questions?
Anybody on the committee have any questions for Pete? Any board members have any questions? No? Okay, Pete, thank you very much. Okay, Mr. Patty.
Good afternoon. Today I have a couple slides just to give you an update on our overseeding and our staffing and golf maintenance, and also to give you a report on our water usage so far this year. The first one, our overseeding update, Deer Valley, Stardust, Trail Ridge, they're scheduled to open next Tuesday, the 17th, and we're not looking at any cart path restrictions, just like what we did on the first four courses. So we're good to go on that. Cooler weather has slowed down the germination and the growth. So on these courses, you're going to find that the ryegrass is a little bit weak, a little bit thin in some areas. But it shouldn't. We have some warm weather coming up, so that's going to help generate a little extra growth. So it's not going to be quite like the first courses that we opened, but it's not far behind. Our height to cut on the greens when we open will be 3/16 of an inch, and that's the same height that we had on the first four courses when we opened. We have a heavy seed rate around some of the greens, and again this year, it did it. The wind blew the seed off of a lot of greens over at Deer Valley and Trail Ridge. It's not as bad as it was as last year, but we do have some issues out there. We're working through it. I was over there this afternoon looking at them, and they look better today than they did yesterday. So I'm confident in a short time they'll be up to speed and looking good, but it's just going to take a little bit of work on our end, but we'll get it. And then the height to cut on the greens on the open golf courses, tomorrow all those courses will be at 1/8 of an inch, and that's kind of a normal height that we stay at through the winter until probably around March, and then we may drop them down just a little bit. But that's a good height. They're going to get quicker and quicker and smoother each week, and that with our rolling program is we're going to have some good greens. And our fairways are at a 1/2 inch right now on the open golf courses. And again, we'll keep it at that height until probably springtime, and then we'll drop that down a little bit to help us aid in transition. And then just a reminder to please keep carts 30 feet from all the greens and tees, observe the 90-degree rule, follow cart arrow signs, and then we're asking you to please drive in the rough as much as possible until we get that first heavy frost, and then we'll reverse that where we'll ask you to drive into fairways. All right? But, I'm seeing a lot of abuse out there. We mostly have 4 carts per group now. Some people are teamed up and riding in one cart. But I'm seeing a lot of golf carts that are up around the tees, around the greens, and golf courses are really getting beat up with the extra cart traffic we have out there. But if they observe the rules, and that's certainly going to help us out. And we've roped off a lot of areas out on the golf course or put stakes out there for traffic control, so that's helping a little bit. And then just a reminder, we have that text service for frost delays, cart path restrictions, course closures. And that's text Sun City West SCW Golf 555-888, and you can get into that system. So frost delays aren't too far away. In fact, we had some frost the other morning. It wasn't enough to cause any delays, but it's right around the corner. I'd like to point out, this was last year. I don't know if you can see it from there, but those are footprints from frost. That's number 1 green over at Grandview. And unfortunately, I think this was one of our own employees that went out to mow the green. He parked the greens mower behind the green and walked out on the green to see if there's some frost. As you can see, he got halfway out in the middle of the green, said, "Yep, there's frost," and he turned around and walked back. So this is the reason that we call frost delays, because it will kill the grass. And this is footprinting. But just think if you had frost out there and you had golf carts driving on your fairways, you'd get the same tracking on that. So there's a reason that we have frost delays. All right, just an update on our golf maintenance staff. You can see that we're 17 full-time positions down right now. Echo Mesa's full. We haven't been full at a golf course in I don't know how long. So that's a good sign. So that number's improved from last month. We update this every Monday. You can see we have nobody out on COVID-related. Light duty, we have one over at Echo Mesa. And we run these numbers every Monday. So as you can see that we had several people that called out sick on Monday, but that's pretty normal for a Monday after the weekend. So I don't know if they're out partying or what and just can't get up on Monday morning. And then we had a couple of people that were out on vacation or personal day. So 25 people. As of Monday, we were 25. On that day, we're 25 employees down. And then our water usage report year to date, we've used 3,895 acre feet. Water budget is 3,629. That puts us 266 acre feet over budget, which sounds like quite a bit, but that's for all 7 golf courses. So that works out to be on average about 38 acre feet per golf course. So that's not too bad considering the summer that we had with the heat. It is 321 acre feet more than last year for the same time period. And our rainfall totals year to date, 6.61 inches. Our summer monsoon, if you were here this summer, you know it was pretty weak monsoon, just over a half inch that we recorded here in Sun City West. And we did have record heat. So with the lack of rainfall and the record heat, I was anticipating that we'd be a lot further over on our allotments. But so we're doing pretty good. We're gonna make some of that up, but we are gonna be over this year a little bit. And then record heat, hottest on record. And you can see here, triple digit heat. We had 145 days of triple digit. And the previous record was 143. 110 plus, we had 53 days this past summer. Previous record was 33. And then 115, we doubled that. 14 days that we had this summer of 115 or higher, and the previous record was 7. So you can see it was a pretty miserable summer. And that's that graph right there kind of explains why we use so much, that with the rainfall, or lack of rainfall, kind of explains why we use so much water this year. I think that was it. Yep. Any questions?
Any questions from any committee member?
Yeah, I do. Todd, you said that, at this time you want us people driving more in the rough than they are in the fairway. But every time I played, I have never heard an announcement made about where to drive a cart other than 90-degree rule.
Okay.
I mean, we're not telling the people, we're not passing that information on to the golfers.
Okay, very good. Anything else?
Okay. Any other questions, comments? Board members? Okay, thank you very much.
Okay,
Todd.
thank you.
Okay, we'll turn it over to Mr. Schwinn now on the COVID report.
how they're serving people. So take that into consideration. And again, continuing through those slides, Katie, if you just want to keep advancing, this is just really showing that we're above normal, above where we want to be, numbers going in the wrong direction and those types of things. Again, it all comes down to masking, keeping clean, social distancing, and kind of playing by the rules that are out there. And hopefully we can all stay healthy and get this thing behind us sooner or later. But as we sit here today, obviously you all know, you see the news, as do I, and as things are progressing, it's going in the wrong direction until we get this curve flattened and getting this thing but kind of behind us. So I know Pat mentioned the congregations. We're seeing that. I don't know if George wants to comment on that, but when our PAs are out there, when Pat's staff are out there, if I'm out there on a Saturday, I'm paying attention to at least what I'm seeing out there. And again, like Pat was saying, we are getting a lot of cooperation, but we also know that golf is a social sport. There's a lot out there going on after you get done playing and before you get done playing. That's part of the game. I mean, I get it. There's a reason you go out there and golf in groups. There's a reason that you socialize, and those types of things are out there. But we just ask that you really abide by the safety standards that the health folks are telling us to abide by, and hopefully getting through this as best we can. George, I think, visited Pebblebrook the other day, walking in unannounced, came up upon a group and was greeted with a New Jersey salute, with rather vulgar language, shot back at him and reported back to me, obviously, with photographs and those types of things. And we have to get that under control. Tough thing to do, but with the snowbirds coming in, and I think the folks that have been here playing throughout the summer understand it. Again, getting some good cooperation, but with a lot of newbies coming in, we just got to continue to beat the drum and sing the song. So George, if you want to say anything, I'm good. All right. Thank you, Bob.
Okay, thank you, Bill. Any questions for Bill? No? Okay. What I'd like to do now is, with the last meeting we had, we went over some of the policies, and there were a couple of changes that were recommended. It's been put together. I want to thank Tim for that. Did a great job. Thank you, Tim. So I want to go through, and we have 4 of them. We'll go through and see if we have a consensus or we should make other changes so that we can forward them on to the governing board for their consideration. The first one will be G01. You all have copies of them so you can read them. If not, they're up on the screen. Basically, a lot of it was to make changes in the way things were done. In 1.0, there was a lot taken out, and it's now to read: a member in good standing of the Recreation Centers of Sun City West who has purchased a discount golf cart may seek a refund due to death or physician order, or may request an upgrade of their existing golf cart. It's just cleaning up the section a little bit and getting some stuff out of there that we don't need. You want me to go through them all, or you want to make a comment on each one, Pete?
Just like anything, guys, when we oversee staff and they have owner members, in this instance, a lot of golf play come in, and there's interpretations about whether or not prorations on refunds would be applicable. How do I upgrade a card? When do I get a refund? So we tried to apply the findings that staff brought to our attention, and you're on the right track, Bob, that I think most people understood a refund would apply on a death, but there was nothing really specifically in the previous policy about what incapacitation, or in this instance, getting a physician order that you're disabled and can't currently continue to play. We're just bringing clarity to that so that it's not disputed. What do I need to have my car disengage? And the lore, if you will, the way we're following it was physician order, but this just puts it into writing. There was some question about would public play get a refund. The answer that we're proposing to you is no. Again, there was nothing in the prior language about if you disengaged, if you sold your property and moved out but still had a card. In our interpretation, and you're being asked to support this, is that you made a willful decision to leave the community, and so no refund would be issued. Then there was discussions about how do I handle an upgrade. And I mentioned this earlier, but a lot of people would come in and say, I bought a card, I'm entitled to 2/12 of that or 5/12 based on the calendar. And right there in the language, at least the way we were interpreting it, was that no, it's very clear any refund should be done by calculating the rack rate times your number of rounds played at the times you played. And the policy we would propose at the bottom here is that you upgrade a card via calculating that, and the amount of your rounds played would be applied against the card that you're upgrading to, and the expiration or the beginning and expiration period would remain the same. So if you had a Coyote card for $325 and you use 300 of that, $25 would be applied to if you were going to go to a Kachina or a Unlimited. Very simple, and that's the way we would prefer this. There's a lot in here, we realize, so if you want to think on it, that's up to you, but we'd rather maybe ask for your support, and then when the version is implemented, if somebody still is not understanding it, or I can answer any questions, but mostly we were just applying what I call lore, L-O-R-E, the way the staff was interpreting it. And I'm not sure any of you are hearing me say anything that you object to, so this is just our requesting to clarify what we're doing. So anybody have any objection to what we're proposing?
Right, so I hope everybody had a chance to look at that one, because it was the most extensive one. Is there any questions on that? I just want to ask you one thing, Pete. On the 3.0, where it talks about the upgrade, this may be a little simple, I just wanted to clarify it. When it talks about if you upgrade, when you go through all the whole process and you upgrade, then it said the expiration date for the upgrade will not change from the original. Is that the original date on the one you're upgrading from?
Yes.
Okay. I just wasn't sure. That's my own edification. Okay. Is there any other questions on this policy change? Everybody okay with it? Then do I have from the members of the committee a consensus that we move this forward to the governing board for their approval? Okay, good. We have a consensus, so we'll move that one up to the governing board. Okay, on G03, basically all it was doing on this one is taking the one section out, 4.0, golf course usage, and it was being placed in a later policy 07. So that's just removing and just changing a little word where course maintenance jurisdiction plays this. It's all it does is just change some wording and just move that one section out, and we're putting it in another one. Anybody have any questions on that one? No? Okay, that's a pretty straightforward one. Then do I have a consensus from the committee that we forward this on up to the governing board for their approval? Okay, good. Consensus given. Policy G07, that's where we moved into the golf course usage. We put that section now in here as 1.2. Use of the golf course is limited to authorized golfers. Other activities not related to golf are prohibited unless approved by the governing board. So that's the only change, is we have spoken about that, just moving it into a different policy. Any other questions, any objections to it? Okay, having a consensus, we'll move that one also on up to the governing board. On policy G10, this was had to change some wording because some things no longer are really in play. 1.2, controlled neighborhood play, that doesn't really, I believe, no longer exist. So we're changing it to public player card holders are defined as persons who are non-members of the Recreation Center Sun City West. It's just clarifying, changing the wording and making it proper. And so with that, under fees, we had to just do some changing of the wording to make it all fit into everything. I don't want to go reading through all that. Does anybody have any questions on any of those? No? Okay, then we have a consensus. We'll move it on up to the governing board. Okay, good. Thank you, Tim. Again, thank you for putting that all together for us. Okay, moving on. This is the outstanding issues. Bill, is this where you would like to address that issue of the group play?
Yeah.
Good.
If you don't mind. All good? Katie, there's a spreadsheet I'd like to start with, if you could. That Excel side, it was basically. That's one of those tabs down here. Wow. We'll start with that one chart.
Thank you.
All right. I have a piece of scrap paper I'd like to pass out to you all. And leave it behind for your notes on if you like. You can email me. You can call me on the phone or back by the house for a cocktail.
Oh, now you're talking.
Thank you.
Did you get one, Todd? Everybody got one? What you're seeing on the screen basically is a one-week picture of large groups playing group play. I'm coming. I forgot. Thank you. And so each of those columns represents a day of the week, starting with Monday on the left side, going over to Sunday. And you can see how what we consider large groups are groups over 28 people, up to 40 people, playing at our golf courses, as far as how they compact or consolidate or fill up our tee sheets. The last three columns in each of the blocks, be it Monday through Sunday, represent the executive golf courses, and the first four columns represent championship or the par 72s. So you can kind of see how group play fills or doesn't fill our tee sheets. The pros and cons that I passed out in front of you were just some thoughts that we put together relative to group play, the positive side, and what we're hearing potentially on the negative side. Group play's been around for a while. It encourages more golfing. I'm reading off this particular sheet, and I didn't bring my glasses, I apologize. But it reduces unused tee times. Thanks, Pete. Reduces unused tee times. It recognizes the social benefits of golf and people wanting to play in groups. Different groups play at different times of the week. There are some restrictions on the golfers, how we deal with 12 or more players, how we deal with executive or regulation courses. And basically, all these notes that I'm reading from are coming from a slide presentation that Todd shared with me, dated October 25th, 2007. And so this has been going on for a while. And so here we are in 2020, and we're still talking about group play and how it fits into our operational system when it comes to golf. So as we sit here today, the black columns are the used tee times typically for large groups. If you can toggle over to that one that this is how the tee sheets look when the lottery folks, the lottery groups, apply for golf. Now, Pat, help me along here. These are groups of 16 players to 24 players. Or 28, right, 24 players. So still groups, but just smaller in size. And so what we're seeing really, the first red line that you see, the tallest of the red lines on these columns represent noon. Then you have twilight and super twilight times below when the rates change. So you can see, obviously, our mornings are pretty well used. There's some compaction there, but there are still opportunities. But what happens, obviously, is, regarding policies, and when you read policies black and white, there's really nothing in our policy that really speaks about group play. I'd like to change that. I support it. I think as far as these pros go, it provides a lot of benefit to us. But on the con side, if you're not a group of 16, you're subject to a little bit of a take back when it comes to, availability of times and how things equate, right? Because obviously, these folks get to book their tee times ahead of folks who are not a group of 16. So where we're sitting today is an area where, I'd like to make a good decision. I think data helps us make good decisions, as well as input and hearing from what you all have to say relative to group play. But where we are today is in the world of technology, can that help us? I don't know. And so what Pat was leaning on a little earlier when he was talking about where are we going and answering your question on group play and what's going on with group play, I'd like just a shade more information for me to make a good decision for everyone. I want to make sure everyone's taken care of as best we can. And so as we sit here today and the golf courses are about to open, so on the 17th of November, I think all 7 golf courses are good to go. I'd like to be able to have the folks in groups, and I plan on meeting with every group leader that we currently have relative to the folks that are currently using the lottery, explain to them what I'm talking to you about today, and have them, at least for a week or two, input their requests into the lottery system and see how much, if any, or how much displacement is really caused. That would give us, I think, a pretty good assessment as to where we go. There's 2 things on my docket that I have to fulfill. If we continue as we are with group play, I'm going to have a humanoid, a person, monitoring that, and it's a daily task. And it's a big daily task. You're moving people around, you're getting a lot of suggestions. Oftentimes, things just need to be monitored. Whereas a lottery is what it is. And the software takes care of those requests. So from a informational point of view, from a management point of view, from making a decision based on fact rather than fiction, I'd like to be able to at least make a decision based on good information that we've got. And I can leave it at that and open up the floor for any kind of dialogue. I don't see any matches being lit or spears being crawled out, but anyway, let's talk.
Anybody got any questions, remarks? Go ahead, Tom.
I'm not sure your humanoid issue, we've been doing this, back 2007, somebody's been doing it, and now we need to add a person to do it?
Not add a person. That person's gone.
Well,
And so it's a matter of either rehiring or, there are things in this world called software that enhance things that we do so that you don't have to hire as many people as you normally would, in an effort to potentially save a little bit of money. That's an option.
I have a comment. I'm a monitor of a group and I'm a member of another one. And we've been subjected to the lottery for quite a long time now. And the worst feeling in the world is to do all your paperwork and get a phone call on Monday afternoon, somebody saying, well, you've been bumped. There are no tee times for you. And, that's the thing that group play really eliminated. When you know in advance you're going to have 7 weeks of play on this course, that course, at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, whatever, at least you know in advance what's about to happen. But the worst feeling in the world is to be bumped and then have to go back to your members and say, they don't want our money, we're bumped. And we've encountered that quite a few times in recent weeks and months. And I don't know what the answer is to the problem, but whatever it is, we need to overcome that.
Right. And I guess my question maybe to Pat on this one, as that has progressed, as people have been notified that they've been bumped, based on what I'm seeing here and the availability of tee times, if they're being bumped from a specific time, is that being amended by the human that is operating the system to try to, instead of saying you're not golfing, it's not that we don't want you to golf and we don't want your money. It's a matter of, are we finding you a spot that's available to replace you into an open area? And I'll turn that over to Pat.
Right. So I think most everyone knows or is familiar with the process. If you put in a lottery request, and Norm, to your point, is obviously we're down 3 courses. Starting in September 24th, we were down 4 courses. So there is a compaction issues. We've got more golfers than there are tee times, and we all know that. But yes, on staff, if you do get bumped, we have somebody that calls you pretty close after 4 o'clock, because that's when the lottery is run, to ask, this is what we have available. Would you like any of these? So that's part of the process. One of the neat things about what's coming out of this technology is the communication tool. One, that you submitted a lottery request and that it got it, and this is what it is, and that you can confirm that. The second is you did get a tee time, or you did win a lottery tee time position, and this is what it is. And then the third communication is you did not win a lottery. And I know at one time we were struggling or had some challenges with the emails, but I believe, and unless somebody tells me different, we've got that pretty well taken care of. And that's one of the challenges that we want to see come out of this and see where we are with this, is if we can take some time in November and December to test this system, we can see if the communication tools are in place, because we do have the ability at this point in time to take up to 40 players and put them in the lottery, and then it could help distribute the tee times. Now, the rules we have in place currently under the under the group play is 16 to 40 players have to have a certain rotation, because some of you don't want to play on executives, but some do. And then you can only have 10% guests. All those don't fly anymore because you're booking your own tee times. So that's the other thing we want to see come out of this is that a benefit to some groups, or is that even more of a detriment? And that information would go a long way in seeing how group play needs to be handled.
So this is the system, this is what we're using then till the end of the year? Up to 40 players are in the lottery?
I'm sorry. Repeat the question.
Well, Pat had just said that we're testing the system between now and the end of the year.
That may be exaggerated. I mean, I certainly want to give it a couple of weeks worth of try. I mean, this is a good opportunity, I think, time-wise, prior to January. to get this kind of sorted out, figured out, and moved on.
So exactly what is the system then? Is it 40 players or less, everybody's in the lottery?
So currently, group play is 16 to 40 players. As of this summer, we've been able to add up to 10 tee times to the technology. So that fulfills the lottery side of group play. So if this works, it would handle everything that group play handles. Yes.
So group play as we know it would no longer exist. Everybody would be in the lottery.
Correct. Group play would not be booked out 7 weeks in advance. That is correct.
That is, well, as we sit here today, that is not really the change we are professing to do, right? I want to see what the computer does regarding displacement before we get any farther down the road. Because what we've done in dry runs and what we have seen working this system out without running it live is that a couple of large groups get bumped. And we have tried to work with the software system to see if we can't rid ourselves of that. And so as we sit here today, again, we're being asked to make a decision based on information that we don't have. And so I'm just trying to see, and I kind of tried to explain it to Tim last Saturday. I know Tim has gone out of his way to provide us a lot of information when it comes to a lot of these graphs and a lot of the things that how it comes down and things rotate and that type of thing. But it does require a little bit of work and effort by a human to make sure these things are all taken care of. I get that. Looking at other golf associations that have multiple golf courses under their belt, there's a premium that people pay for that service. We talked about potentially looking at if we continue with good, group play, similar to what we've got going on now, should the golfers be paying a premium for that service? I don't know what that fee is, but the way our association is built right now, I can't, as the general manager, just insert a fee and go with it. That has to run through committee, that has to go through BNF, and ultimately, as we move into the budget season, it has to be finally approved by the governing board as far as what that fee is. Whether it's during the heavy season, we have 26 weeks of heavy golf, whether it's $1 per person per week, $1, for $25 for everybody playing in the group play to offset that cost, maybe. Sun City has a group play system where they do charge a fee. We've been in communication with them. There are other groups out there that manage multiple golf courses that deal with group play completely differently and deal with lottery systems. And so we are just trying to come across what's going to work best, I think, for making everyone as comfortable as they can be. And so, we're really just asking, besides wearing a mask and everything else that we're trying to do here in the world of COVID, is to A, have a little patience with us and let us explore what this technology can possibly do for us. It may help us and maybe it doesn't, but at least, without trying it, we'll never know.
On this subject, anybody else have any questions of Bill? Suggestions?
The same way we're doing it here today. I mean, I don't want to bring a group of 20 or 40 or 50 people in here. It's going to be, basically, we'll contact them in groups of 10 or 12, bring them in as best we can and explain kind of what we're after and what we're trying to seek here in the next couple of weeks.
Okay, any other questions? Comments? Bill, do you have anything more you want to ask?
No, at this point, I mean, I don't sense a lot of balloons and champagne getting popped at the moment. I think it's a change. I think the folks that are accustomed to playing group play when and where they they like to play is being disrupted, and I think people are upset about that. I don't want to, overly make people completely unhappy and the like, but, we're being asked, I think, to do what we can from a financial situation to see if we can't cut some costs. Again, can software help us in managing tee sheets? And those are the things I think we're trying to experiment with. Again, I can go either way. I understand group play. I put in front of you a lot of pros as to why we think group play is a good thing to do. And then we also shared with you some of the cons that we hear from owner members that are here as well, and some of the things that we've experienced. And so, again, when it comes to decision-making, I think it's easier to make a decision when you have good information.
Okay, so do we think that by our next meeting next month, we'll have maybe something more to go on?
Yes, I would think so. And then I would just add one more thing, if you want to add it onto your agenda for next month. And I think between Todd and his conversations with golf course architects, as well as Arizona Department of Water Resources and whatnot, we'd at least like to share with you what at least we feel would be the upcoming schedule that we can present in front of the governing board regarding the replacement of the irrigation system at Grandview.
Okay.
I have a couple of questions.
Go ahead, Tim.
Just so I have this straight, you're going to tell groups that have been together for 20 years, that they've been in group play for 20 years, that they're now in the lottery on the same basis as a single foursome?
As far as entering their times, I still think group play gets the advantage of ahead of time booking.
Yeah, they do, Tim.
How does that, how? If you're in the lottery, you're on the same basis as everybody else.
No, the way the lottery actually works is if you're in a group, let's say, of 40 players, you've got 10 team captains, if you will, residents that are in the lottery in the A position. If you look at it as ping pong balls, you've got 10 ping pong balls in that lottery. So if you get picked, your other 9 groups go with you. If I get picked, you and the other 8 groups get to go with us. So you've actually got 10 numbers in the game, while a foursome only has 1. So the larger the group, if they can fit into that time frame, has got really a little bit of an advantage.
Well, that's new information. That's never been said before.
Yeah, I talked to Linda about it with Total E, and that's her understanding on this. So, and I think there might even be an optimum group number. I can see 10 being having some challenges because if you're not first to the dance, you're going to be looking for spots to fill. So a 5 or a 6 group might be optimal because they can fit into a smaller window. So that's the last we heard. Linda's confirming that, but that's what she's under the impression.
And Tim, Katie, I don't have the sheet to show you, but we've been doing dry runs on this thing for a little bit of time, even with the golf courses closed on a shorter, obviously a narrower window, and trying to fill some of these tee times. And plugging in the numbers that we've got here into the lottery, I believe you want to put it up? I think there's one group over the times that we've thrown this thing at the lottery, that one group has been bumped. So everybody's seemingly getting what they're after based on inputting what we've seen here relative to large groups and the smaller groups, is that once they enter into the lottery, they're basically getting their request filled. I'll pass that off.
Yeah, this data just literally came in today, so the guys need time to analyze it. I wouldn't make any decisions based on it right now. But the large groups, as well as the small groups, have been in the lottery during this overseeding. Is that correct, Pat? And based on that analysis, you can see behind me the number of requests, the number of bumps, and in the far right is the column of groups of 10 or more tee times, which would be 40. And there's only maybe one bump per day on those. From September to October. So, and that's with limited number of courses. So based on that test already, it doesn't look like there's going to be a lot of displacement once we have all 7 open.
Well, in the lottery right now, you can't, you're not putting in 10. I have a group on Friday that has 10 players, and we're having to, 10 tee times, we're having to split them into 2 groups. And over the last couple of weeks, almost one or the other group has gotten bumped to where they don't get what they want, and Golf Ops calls and says, hey, here's what we can do for you.
Yeah, my understanding is they've been in there.
Pardon me?
My understanding from Linda is that all the big groups have been in there. Is that not
Not
true?
as 10, not as 10 foursomes, no.
And my Monday group was bumped 3 weeks in a row.
Bumped to the point of no golf?
No, but we were bumped. And then 1 week, we had to separate to 2 different golf courses.
And how big's the group?
24 players.
And that's the information we're after. That's what we need to know. That's what I want to know in making this decision.
Okay, so how do you get that information?
This information?
I mean, you should have when the groups have requested and what they've gotten. Give you an example, the green seekers for the last couple of weeks have been split on 2 different courses. This week, we're on the same course, but we're separated by an hour and a half. Five foursomes in an hour and a half and 5 more. And that kind of defeats the whole purpose of having a big group.
And I get that. And I think part of the rationale that you're seeing the bumps as we are right now is because we've got the number of courses.
Understood. But we're not at peak season either.
Tim, you're saying your group got split in half and went from one?
No.
That's 2 different lottery requests, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Right.
We haven't tried to put in 10 yet. I mean, that just popped up a couple weeks ago. We've been putting in 5 and 5, 5 and 4, that sort of thing. The other thing is, how are you going to measure the financial impact of the lost tee times when this happens? The lost groups that aren't going to play, or it's split up and only half of them play.
Again, that's exactly the information we're after. Exactly why I want to, that's exactly why, personally, if it were me, I'm asking for 2 weeks. Give us 2 weeks, plug it into the lottery, let's see what happens, let's see how much displacement there is. Pete will do all the analysis on lost revenue or gained revenue as we sit, and then roll. We'll be back, and here we go again. And I think, we can lock it down. We can lock it down at that time. My job is to look at that spreadsheet that's on the wall there and stare at every one of those empty white boxes, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's dollars. And we want to make sure we capture those. And we want to make sure that the owner members here playing in groups are satisfied with what they're getting, when they're getting, and we have the opportunity to fill that sheet. So I think we'll get there. But at this point in time, when it comes to making this decision, I'm just asking for just a little bit of time to give us some information so that we can come back and present. And I think when it's all said and done, outside of the 2-week period, we can roll. And I think everybody here will be happy with it. I really do.
So you're saying on your spreadsheets up there that if all those white squares are unfilled tee times? So only group players play golf?
No, I'm not saying that.
Well, that's what you just said. You're trying to fill, your group play doesn't fill all those slots, so we're losing revenue. Well,
I said, those are empty slots. Those do get filled. I understand where you're coming from. I completely do. Right? We're studying the equity and fairness thing. That's part of the 2-week thing, as far as who gets bumped and who is not being served. I get it. And that's part of the education that we're trying to get out there in front of everyone to make a sound decision. Do you have something to say?
We do have a holiday on Thursday of next Thanksgiving, so that would fit in the 2-week period. So I don't know if that data won't be correct because we've got course closures.
You know, Bill, there's going to be certain intangibles that are going to be really hard to measure. Like during the winter season when everybody's here, you have some groups that usually they take 10 tee times and they play the first thing in the morning when it's freezing frickin' cold out there.
Yes, sir.
Now, how are you going to capture whether or not you fill those tee times or not?
Well, yeah. I mean, there's frost delay. There's what do you do? Because you don't want to back up the whole day. I mean, how do you get in the middle of groups and say this tee time, this tee time, this tee time, and you're out?
No, I'm saying there are groups that will play first thing in the morning, okay, every week.
Right. We've identified that.
Right. And my question is, if they get a time other than the first tee time, and those tee times are open, because you're not gonna have people wanting to go play first thing in the morning, how are you gonna capture that information? Because that's pretty intangible. I mean, when it rains, you've got groups that are out there playing. The green seekers will play, if it's raining, we're out there playing. We've been at Pebblebrook before, we've been the only people there for the whole morning.
On the sheet of pros, that's identified. Absolutely. I understand that. I get it. I get it. But I think where we're going with that is when 7 courses are open and the lottery system is in play, I'm not sure, based on what we're seeing with the data, I'm not sure we're gonna displace anyone. I think everyone will be accommodated. People that wanna play 7:30 in the morning, I think the computer would potentially help fill that slot with the lottery requests. So it's really a matter of displacement, who's getting bumped, right? So if the computer can handle the requests that we have from the 50-some-odd groups, great. That's what software's all about.
Bill, I hope the data you get is better than what, I mean, she was saying that only one group got bumped in the last weeks, and we just heard from 3 people that they all got bumped. So data's only as good as it is true.
I believe you. Yes, sir. Good call.
I have one comment. One thing you're going to lose control over is when people do a lottery request this way, they aren't going to care when they cancel their tee times.
When they cancel their tee times.
When, for the no-shows or somebody wants to cancel, because we aren't being monitored like the group play is currently being monitored, we're supposed to have 90 to 95% participation and no cancellations. You're going to lose that control if you do the lottery. Because they're going to cancel, and they may not cancel until, the day of. And then you're going to have all those open spots. At least now we're accountable for what we're doing.
Right. And I don't know, I don't see that going away with the lottery. I mean, it's going to be, obviously, push is gonna come to shove at check-in. And if you're booking 40 slots and 30 people show up, and you do that a time or two, you're no longer gonna be eligible to book 30. I mean, excuse me? Who's gonna monitor that? Pro Shop.
Where?
So if I can jump in, Bill, at one time we looked at that because that was one of the concerns was we're holding group play to 10% or less, as Patty's mentioning. And over the last year, they did a majority of them did a really good job. But we found that the no-shows outside of group play was not a bunch higher. It was a little bit higher, but it wasn't significant, maybe 2 or 3 percentage points.
Well, that, we have never seen that information.
Okay.
We've been asking for it for several times. We've never seen what the no-shows are for just regular tee sheets.
Any other comments, questions?
I have a question when it gets to me.
Well, all right, go ahead, Mr. Young.
I don't play golf, so I don't know about this lottery and all the other, but my question is, if you have a group of 40 and now they're in a group, they all play X together, right? And now you're saying that you want all 40 of them to go into a lottery? How do you have any group at all?
The group remains the same.
The group remains the same. So you're only having one person in the group put in the lottery?
Correct. So one person puts in the lottery for 40. The unknown is the time in the course in which you'll be playing.
Okay.
That's the unknown. The group will stay the same.
I mean, they make a request.
Yeah, I understand. I just didn't know if one person did it or all 40. I didn't.
Well, I would like to have that verified, that if you're requesting 10 slots in the lottery, that's like putting in 10 lottery requests. Because that's, I have never heard that before in all the discussions of the lottery.
So how soon will these committee meetings begin, and who will be invited?
Whoever we have contact information from as far as who's overseeing that particular group. And basically, we're starting here today, and they'll be notified, and we'll be bringing them in as early as we can next week.
Would like to be in that room.
Okay, any other thing? George, you had something? No? No other questions in committee? All right, so then hopefully we'll, by next month, have something put together that will work. Okay. Okay, with that, let's go around. Any committee members, you have any other comments or concerns you'd like to bring up? We'll start with Tom. No? David?
Yeah, I have a question, pretty old, I guess. I'm not real familiar with the Golf Council. I've heard about it a number of times, and I'm not sure what they do, and do they do work in parallel with this committee, or do we communicate back and forth? Because it seems like there's a lot of golfers represented on the Golf Council, and I'm not sure this committee is capturing that many golfers. And I'm thinking of the lady golfers, because I don't think they have a very big voice in this committee, but they may have a big voice in the Golf Council. But I even heard today there is no Golf Council, so is that true?
That there is no golf council? Not that I know of.
That's what I was going to say. You're bringing up something I'm unaware of.
The golf council is made up of the presidents of the golf chartered clubs. Deer Valley Men's, Deer Valley Ladies, Pebblebrook Men's, Ladies, that. There's, I think, 19 members of the golf council, and it's supposed to be a vehicle. They get the same kind of presentations from Todd and Pat that we do, and it's supposed to be a vehicle to get that information pushed down to the club level, okay, the men's and ladies club level, and for them to percolate up questions and comments from the chartered clubs themselves.
Okay, do they have regular meetings and minutes and things like that?
Yeah, they meet once a month,
Third Thursday of the month.
third Thursday. Are they still meeting over at,
Yeah, they haven't had anything on the schedule. The first one they're supposed to have is January 1.
Okay. It sort of ties into another question I had, and that came up through the summer. Playing all these different courses, we get different types of scorecards. Some are on different paper, some have different formats, and I wondered, is that because each golf course decides what they want in the way of a scorecard, or could we standardize? And
So the process for scorecards has kind of evolved over the last few years. We pay 6 cents a scorecard for printing. So one of the things that we thought might be beneficial was to get some scorecard sponsors. So we're trying to eliminate that expense. Over the last couple years, you're seeing a little bit more standardization because we're getting the same sponsor on each scorecard now. Before it was anywhere from Dunkin' Donuts, remember when they were in town? And then maybe we broke them, I don't know. Now we've got Southwest Golf Cars and Ciani, which is a dentistry here in town, and they've agreed to sponsor all 7 scorecards. So I just proofed Deer Valley ladies had just adjusted their handicap allotment schedule for their holes, so they'll be getting a new scorecard, but all of them should be in line with those 2 sponsors. So they pay for that space on that scorecard to the tune of about $3,000 for each of those sponsors, and we've chosen to go that route to offset the expense. Grandview's a little bit different. We wanted to get a map on Grandview to show the footprint for those that play outside the community. They know how to get back to the pro shop if they get a call out on the golf course. But you'll see that those standardizations are closer this year.
you know, I was just curious about how that comes about, because it looks like each club or each course is selecting what they want as a scorecard, and it seems like either this committee or the golf council should be getting together and standardizing. I mean, if you have a map on one card but not on the others, I don't know about that. I mean, I just don't understand why we can't have the same format for
Right,
all
I think you'll
courses.
find that 6 of them are pretty much standardized. Grandview's a little bit different. Not to say that's right or wrong, just saying that it is different.
It was way different when you switched paper. I mean, you couldn't even write on it with a pencil.
Yeah, those were temporary scorecards. Those are ones that we were trying to get to fill a void between prints. So you should never see those slick ones again.
All right. That's all I got.
Okay, thank you. Patty? Tim, what else you have?
Yes, Deer Valley Men's played at Pebblebrook today. My group went off at 8:22. And while I was there for maybe 45 minutes before, every time they called somebody to the number 1 tee, they called another group to the number 10 tee. People were going off the back at a constant rate. Maybe Patty can back me up on this. Why is that any different than doing crossovers? When you have that many people going off the back, they're adding to the congestion at the pro shop. They're the same amount of people on the driving range, on the putting tee. Only 4 people can go into the pro shop. How is that any different than doing a crossover?
The difference is that the 9-hole play off the back starts at 7:30, and I think the last group ended at 8. Was it 8:38? Okay, so it's 1 hour tee time, so that's 30 players. So that's when it stops, because the person that's teeing off on 1
If
has to
the
turn.
idea is to limit the amount of people congregating around the pro shop, congregating on the driving range, congregating on the putting green, I don't care if it's 30 or 100, those people are still there at the same time. I don't see the logic in not doing a crossover front and back tees, but yet you let people go off the back. That makes no sense to me.
Because it's less than half of what we would do with a double tee.
But they're not all there at the same time. They're
Nor,
co- they're-
nor,
they're-
nor are these folks.
Pat, the people that are going off the back are there at the same time as the people going off the front.
That's what and that's what a double T will do too.
Right.
What I'm saying is the numbers aren't as large, and typically not all of those tee times are filled. So in other words, I can go in today, and I can't do it now, but I can look. It looks like the maximum would be 30 players. Typically, we had, and Patty and I talked about this a few weeks ago. A few weeks ago, we had 8, and we had 10 or 12. It's not that many players. And that's just an opportunity for our residents to play 9 holes on one of their golf courses. If you feel that we need to cut that out, we sure can. If you feel it. Okay.
So for that hour and 15 minutes, you essentially have double Ts. Okay? Why is that hour and 15 minutes any different than doing it for the whole 3 hours to get people off? I don't understand why that's any different.
The difference is that it's the numbers. To do a double T start, you've got to have 60 players in order to make it work.
But they're not all there at the same time. They come in with their, 30 minutes before the tee time, okay?
They're staggered just like these folks. There's no difference.
And what I'm saying is for that first hour and a half, you've got double the amount of people that you have there. So why not have double the amount of people staggered over 3 hours?
Because a double T wouldn't work that way. You've got to have a double T tee off at the same time off back and front for the same period of time. So you have 60 go off the front, 60 go off the back. What you're saying, Tim, is that you're concerned about the 30 that are teeing off at the most, 30 teeing off on the back, and that's the only time that 30 is ever there. They're not coming back to the pro shop. They play, they go home. So the only time we see them is when they check in. A double T start, you're going to see them when you tee off, you're going to see them at the turn, and you're going to see them when they finish. So that's the difference. It's a saturation point. Now, if you feel uncomfortable with 30 players, we can cut that back.
That's a difference without distinction. I'm done.
But that's the thought. But if you're concerned about those back 9 times, we can eliminate those, absolutely. If you're asking to go to 60, I wouldn't suggest it, no. Because that turns into 120 for that to work. And that's too many people out there at one time.
Okay. Jeff?
I guess I'm as confused as Tim.
Norman, how about you, Norman?
I think things have been covered pretty good for me. I'm okay.
Do we have anything from any board members? Any questions?
First off, thank you, Bob. There are no comments or questions from the outside, but I do have a dumb question for Pat. Pat, I know when I look out my back door, there's all different colored tees out there. If I happen to go out and play the green tees that are moved up, how does that affect my handicap or anything like that? Or is that part of the USGA, it's already sloped and rated that way?
Correct. Each one of those tees is sloped and rated. So what you have is a handicap index, which is in essence your traveling handicap. So for example, if you're a 25.7 from the green tees, you might be a 18 or 19. And then as you progress backwards, it goes higher and higher because the course gets longer and longer.
I thank you, because I put something in my column and I made an educated guess, and I guessed right, so thank you for confirming that.
At the first time you made something right?
Probably if you get a list, it probably is not that often.
Okay, very good. Okay, with that, any other? Nothing else? Then I'll adjourn this meeting, and our next meeting is on December 10th. And hopefully Bill will have some kind of report.
Thank you.